It's quite obvious that in the last 10 years, the legacy media has been in a state of decline. People have increasingly decided to abandon traditional cable media for new mediums. But why? In a press conference on February 16th, Donald Trump sparred with CNN, essentially hinting at the same proposition.
Just something that Jonathan Karl was asking you about. You said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
No, the reporting is fake.
And if I
look,
may ask,
look,
I just want to ask
Jim, you know what it
yes,
is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life, but I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone, the word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such, I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. The tone is such hatred. I watched this morning a couple of the network, and
The fact of the matter is, trust in the traditional news media is at an all-time low. People tuning into these stations can immediately gather a sense of unfounded bias. Trump mentioned that people don't know if the news is true or false. In the age of information, it's easy to simply go online and debunk most news stories from these outlets. The truth is, they are mostly big corporations with a lot of revenue, most of which donate to the Hillary Clinton campaign. Hardly a prime environment for non-biased news when you are donating to the president's political opponent. Take the UC Berkeley riots, for example. Furthering their bias, CNN hosted a commentator who stated that the protesters causing the chaos were actually from the right wing.
Yiannopoulos.
It absolutely does, Don, and I'd want to be very, very clear. I was there for part of last night, and I know what I saw, and those people were not Berkeley students. Those were outsiders, agitators. I've never seen them before. There's rumors that they actually were right-wingers. They were part of a kind of a group that were organized and ready to create the kind of tumult and danger you saw that forced the police to cancel the event. So Donald Trump, when he says Berkeley, doesn't respect free speech rights, that's a complete distortion of the truth. I mean, Berkeley opened its biggest auditorium to this right-wing Breitbart News character, this hateful, odious person, but said free speech is the most important thing we stand for. And these outsiders who caused the police to finally come in and have to cancel it.
Do you think this was a strategy by Yiannopoulos or right-wingers? They put this on so they could, in an effort to show that, there's no free speech on a college campus like UC Berkeley?
I wouldn't bet against it, Don. I saw these people. They were they all looked almost paramilitary.
At this point, everyone is aware that this is simply untrue. It was clear Antifa was at the central point of these riots. However, this is another prime example of the media bias and hypocrisy that permeates these stations. It seems to me violence is something that the left actually propagates. For example, take the chaos that the left had planned to plant within the Trump rallies during the election campaign. To suggest that the right is somehow responsible for the recent post-election violence is downright delusional. In fact, it reinforces the idea that the biased media sources plan to die kicking and screaming instead of readjusting and changing. The point is that people can remember the political climate long enough to detect these falsehoods, further disintegrating the integrity of the media, thus forcing people to look for new mediums. One question we should ask ourselves is if this trend will continue. After the monumental failure of their election predictions, one would have expected them to reverse course to stem the downward spiral. But the hysteria has only gotten worse. Unfortunately, the consequence of bias, hypocrisy, and collusion has ensured the death of these multi-million-dollar propaganda outlets. Luckily for us, we have seen a massive insurgence of transformative media, a new type of journalism and information cultivation. The media and how it's delivered has merely shifted into different mediums, such as YouTube, Facebook, etc., with average citizens standing up against the legacy media and taking part in patriotic dissent. Because without that, we'd be at the mercy of those who'd have done everything that they can to control our opinion and the public opinion at large.